Well, in January this year, the race for the AU chairmanship failed to produce an outright winner. Current chair Jean Ping, a Gabonese national, and South Africa's Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma went head-to-head, but none came out victorious. The AU's failure to elect a head for its commission exposed the ever-widening cracks within this continental body. Francophone and Anglophone countries have been at odds about who should be leading the continent. This topic has certainly been the subject of great degree of consternation in many parts of Africa. Our team went out onto the streets to get views from ordinary people. Let's take a look at what we discovered.
The opposition to South Africa's bid for the post of Africa Union Commission chair rings louder with election day drawing near. It has resonated mostly in West Africa, where a lot of the condemnation has come from. Many of the Francophone countries are accusing South Africa of being a bully and for breaking a gentleman's agreement that reserves that spot for smaller nations on the continent. International affairs analyst Shagu Bolarinwa helps us understand this conundrum of political machination. Can you shed more light on relations between South Africa and Nigeria, and why is there so much animosity?
Looking at Nigeria's foreign policies in 1960, it has been largely Afrocentric, from liberation struggle to defending African interests. At the international arena, Nigeria doesn't have any animosity against South Africa, but South Africa has so much animosity, which is felt at all multilateral levels, at the AU level, at the United Nations level, at the Commonwealth level, is felt. They see Nigeria as powerful.
And what is the underlying issue at stake this time with the AU Commission chairmanship, and why is there so much drama?
It also became severe as a result of why they were separating the functions of the Commission and the functions of the Council of Head of States. And eventually that was why they could not even conclude the elections of the Head of States, the AU chairmanship, which eventually was given on the interim to the Beninois presidency. And that is also kept in abeyance, and that of the AU Commission too. Whoever controls as a country or heads the AU Commission as the African Union. So candidacy of the AU Commission means you are in charge. And it's an international organization that involves a lot of politics. An international arena is a game of politics. And a game of politics is a game of power.
Whichever country takes the commission chair certainly has its work cut out for it. Continental organization stability, good governance, leadership, and development will continue to take prominence in any effort to place Africa in the global arena and push it forward. That's it from Lagos. Let's get you more views from East Africa.
Overall, South Africa is viewed quite favorably by Kenyans. They praise the country's economic tenacity as well as its peaceful transition to democracy. But when it comes to the question of whether or not South Africa is a leader on the continent or whether a South African should lead the AU, the reactions are more varied.
If you compare the minerals and everything which they have, they need to give the other small countries, third world countries, an opportunity to be leaders in Africa so that they can also develop.
As the economic powerhouse of Africa, South Africa really can do better. I'll give an example of the Libyan issue where South Africa was part of the House, the Security Council that was meant to vote, and they sat on the fence. It was really an African issue for Africans to settle, and I think they can do more. More was expected, but they set back, they backed down. It's a cowardly move for something so great as South Africa.
We sat down with public policy consultant Kariro Wangugi to find out what he thought was behind the subtle hostility towards South Africa.
If South Africa has some agenda, positive agenda, in using the African Union, to develop a better mandate and better interventions for the interests of the peoples of Africa, then South Africa should be supported. But that agenda has not been articulated by South Africa. I think there might be an issue about the South African image in the rest of Africa. South Africa should tell the rest of Africa, if they see themselves as what I would call thought leaders in Africa, what are those thoughts? Do they see themselves as thought leaders or business leaders, or what? What are they about?
Ngugi was quick to point out, though, that he believes the notion that a smaller nation will be more suitable to lead the AU than a larger nation like South Africa is nonsense. He believes that a large nation will be just as effective and fair and will carry more weight in the international arena. I'm Robin Creel in Nairobi. Chris, back to you in Johannesburg.
Well, thank you for that, Robin. Those were some of the reactions from different parts of Africa about the race for the African Union's top job. To take the discussion further, I'm now joined by regular contributor to our show, Kofi Kwaku, who's from Wits University, as well as Ambassador Sisa Ngombani, who is with the South African Department of International Relations and Cooperation. But before we kick off our discussion with our learned guests, let's take a look at the profiles of the two candidates who are vying for this top position. We'll start off, of course, with Dr. Jean Ping. He's currently the head of the African Union. In government, he held a number of positions: Minister of Post and Telecommunications, Energy, and of course he was Minister of Foreign Affairs and Cooperation for his country, Gabon. Kwaku, what do you think about Mr. Ping in terms of his attempts to remain in office as the AU chair, based on his profile for now?
Now, there are two powerful things that are on the side of Mr. Ping. He's experienced the breadth and depth of the experience, both academically or in the university, and then the kind of skills and competencies he's got. And the second one is his practice. For a very long time, he's got a very deep experience in government all across the continent. And the good thing is he bridges between both Francophone and Anglophone. And he's the incumbent. He's been sitting in that position for a long time. So most of these things are in his favor. So he's a strong and very tough candidate.
Very strong candidate. In fact, let's take a look at the other candidate vying for the position, and that's South Africa's Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. She served as the chair of the Ministers' Council of the African Union and deputy chair of UNAIDS. She's chairperson of the AU's Peace and Security Council, and this has been since 2004. What makes her such a strong candidate when compared to Jean Ping, who we've just profiled?
Actually, she's also has got a long diplomatic career. Even when the AU was transformed from OAU to the African Union, she was there. So, and actually, they know each other with Dr. Jean Ping also, and they've got a mutual respect in terms of the capabilities of each other. And I think what we are saying in terms of Dr. Nkosazana is that obviously we have tried leadership in the African continent for various years, and some has worked successfully, some has not so worked successfully. We're not trying to be critical about this. I think, but it's true that the AU said, look, let's try and profile women more. Let's have a decade of women. And in following through that, we said, South Africa, we have a candidate. We've got a strong candidate, and everyone agrees that she's a strong candidate.